Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Pastor's Desk, Unpacking the Bible. And I am your host, Onkarabile, Mokoto. Today, again, we have two powerful servants of God again, Pastor Andile and Tinus, who are going to unpack the Bible with another sensitive issue, another sensitive topic. Pastor Andile and Pastor Tinus, thank you again.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I just called you for, such critical topics, and I believe that you are good on these topics. The first one we did very well, and I believe even today, we are just going to continue and do another one very well.
Yes, you're picking the difficult ones for
us. Because I trust you.
Yeah.
Because I trust you,
Okay.
Yes, because I trust you.
Thank you.
Let's talk about sexual relationships, on our last episode, we spoke about marriage, we spoke about the divorce, and somehow we featured some little bit of elements of such things. But today now we are going to be, full in details about this topic, sexual relationships. Let's talk about it. What does it entail? What does the Bible say about that? Because we have seen many believers avoid crime, avoid stealing, but when it comes to sexual relationships, they are committed to that. Let's start with you, Pastor Andile.
I believe it's very sensitive and it's very, very deep also. It's based when we can teach from the root, not deal with the shadow. Sexual relationship is very serious because it involves two people, but also it deals within the spectrum of their inner being, their soul. So I believe it's because in the church we have tried to deal much with the one that we see it's certain sins that are high than sin is sin. Last week I spoke with another pastor. I said no, in the church we only, when we associate sin, we associate with evil, killing and so on. But the Bible says anything that is out of faith is sin. So there's no small sin, there's no high sin. All is sin. And the most thing is to define the body. The body, which is the temple, which is the temple of God. And is to exchange, because in sexuality there's exchange of your manhood and exchange of your womanhood. There's soul ties, spirit, whereby, for instance, whereby if I sleep with this person, tomorrow I sleep with this person, then I'm connected with different people along that, and that's a very opening door. It's an opening door. It's a much opening door of evil, more than what other people they can spend. That one is a very, very, very sensitive piece because there's blood involved inside. So I don't know, Pastor, you could add much.
Yes, well, it is a sensitive topic because, we are all sexual beings. And although people don't like to talk about it,
yes,
we all do it.
Yeah.
And and I believe I believe God designed it for a reason as well. And I don't believe it's only for, for making more people, for what's that word?
Population.
Population.
Reproduction.
And the reproduction. God made it that is something that we as man, can enjoy. And so there's a good thing to that, but then there's the bad thing. And I suppose we're going to talk about the bad side.
Yes,
of it,
mostly. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I think we just need to define that, because
yes,
I've bumped into Christian people who say to me, "But that's altogether taboo. It's only there for children, And I even know of certain groups in Christianity, that when that actually happens, they're not supposed to touch one another's bodies. And they have to have a sheet between them, and so that's also wrong.
Yeah.
So we need to just bring the balance in this thing. When the Bible talks about adultery and fornication and all that stuff, that's the negative side of it. And there's a reason, why that is negative. And I like what Pastor Joseph said here, that because when you sleep with another person, you create a soul tie. And I believe that's the thing, you know, because the Bible teaches us that. Do you not know that when you sleep with somebody else or when you're intimate with somebody else, you're connecting with that person's soul? And that the two of you then become one.
Yeah.
So that's soul tie. And we also know that, you know, that's that connection, that soul tie between people that love, you know, at that moment. It says it covers a multitude of sins. Love covers a multitude of sins. And I can come back to that because that's very interesting. And I believe it's one of the reasons why we shouldn't have, you know, sex before marriage. You know, because it will hide things and you make a wrong decision.
Yes.
Because of the soul tie. And so yeah, I believe that, you know, and there's not a more devastating thing to family and children and, you know, the institution of family than adultery and fornication. And so that's why God is also very tough on that one.
I wanted to ask that before you even finish, that what is it that it makes people, like I've said in the beginning, that one can avoid crime, one can avoid, you know, drinking alcohol, one can avoid stealing. But when it comes to this one, it seems many people are committed to this one. It seems it's a very difficult thing to avoid. What's happening?
I personally think, you know, there's more than one factor there, you know, because firstly, these days with these smartphones that we have, you know, young people have pornography in the palm of their hands.
Yeah.
And that's usually where these things start. You know, I also think it's a socio-economic problem, you know, where people are exposed more than other people to that kind of lifestyle. And so there's many different reasons, I believe, why this has happened. And then, of course, the big one is that, you know, it has been taboo in when I was young, but these days, everybody's doing
It's
it.
common.
It's common.
That's true, sir. It's because I think we are casual. We are casual about it. We are casual about it. It become a normal thing. And also, I also believe it has to do with the issue of social a way of living, advancement of the way of living, whereby the kids, one time while we were in the youth, another young person asked and say, Brother Andile, how is that possible that I marry someone that I don't know? You see, we were having a youth discussion. Then I asked, are we discussing the knowing part based on the Bible or based on the world system? Because now when the only verse that speaks between two people who are married, or two people who are a man and a female, when it speaks about knowing, that when it says Adam know the wife, it means about sleeping.
Yeah.
So now are you telling me now you need to know that person by sleeping? Because the Bible says he knew her by sleeping. Yeah. So now I think it's that concept of, as you asked, how do I know in the previous topic, how do one know one's soulmate? So it becomes a idea that they use it as a finding factor, or as a scale line, that they will use that to find a good and a perfect husband and a perfect wife. I think that's...
Can I intervene?
Yes, please.
You see, because that is such a deception, you know, because, you know, we all know about the honeymoon phase, you know, but people change, as you said.
Yes.
You know, people do change, and, you know, after the children comes, you know, she changes, and even changes sexually. And so testing somebody before, or what's the word you used, you know, seeing if this one is going to work, to know her is a deception, because you can never know, because we all change, and as we grow older, and as our lives change, and as our social structure change, things change. So you can't use that to say, I need to know,
I'm going to come up with a very sensitive one when I'm listening to you, rebuking that deception of what, especially young people.
Yes.
Mostly young people will have that wrong mentality. I want to come up with a very sensitive approach of saying, young people will say, if, for example, you are a male person and then you will have to sleep with a lady, they will argue and say, what if that person has done things before? And when you get there as a boy, as a man, you find out that person has, according to their language, has finished. Has been destroyed. So why must you not test first? So as a pastor, how do you approach that deception? How do you guide that young person?
Yeah, well, I must say I've never heard that one, in my ministry. I suppose maybe it's because all of them do it anyway before the time. So I don't know, but well, firstly, I think that's where the counseling comes in. Premarital counseling is so important, specifically for young people or younger people. Because that's where you can openly discuss things like that and at least trigger discussions around being honest with one another, to be honest and say, listen, you're not the first one, or, and then you have to make a choice, can you live with that or not?
Yes.
And I must say, I found it very sometimes hypocritical for men, because they don't like the wives to be sleeping around, but they do it.
Yes,
it's okay when they've done it, but as long as the woman don't do it.
No, true. It's very true.
To add on what you are saying, I believe it's a misconception between the two, like the statement that you said, Ore, the other part loses because she's a woman, the man doesn't lose, you get. So the other time, I once, Pastor, we get that in our location. The young people who ask. So I asked a person, I said, there are two things that you must put in mind. You must know that you have a sister, first of all, that whatsoever that you do to another persons, would you like it to be done to your sister?
Yeah.
If your answer is no, then now, I said, after then, I said, now, will you marry a person that has been tested? You get me? When you test that one, will you marry someone that has been tested by Satan? So if your answer is no, it means now we have a problem. You are a problem. The problem is with you. It's not with this. Because we did have that. We find people there say, no, I can't marry a person that has a child. I said, no, but you can't marry a person that has a child, but you have another child with another person. You get me? So who must marry that one that you live with a child?
No, I guess that's a good advice.
You get me? So that's all about that. And I had a dear friend of a dear close lady friend. She came to me. She had a relationship, the fling and so on. Then the guy gave her a child. Then the guy started to change. So she needed advice. I said to her, listen. The most thing that you must do, you must not make yourself as desperate person first. That you must, the thing that you must know. In the intimacy, when you sleep or having that sexual fornication, there's an exchange of strength both way. You get me? So someone loses and someone loses. Beside of having a child, beside of breaking the egg and having a child, within that spectrum or situation of sexuality, there's exchange of strength or whatsoever. So now, you don't, as much as you would, I said, remember can you answer me this question? The time you never slept with the guy, there was this respect and so on. Then the time now you started to sleep, there's this thing that you are equal. You get me? Now you know one another because you have slept with each other. So the most thing with sexuality is that both sides are affected. It may not. It's women is because they are made with the womb. You see, it doesn't mean that because you are a man, you are not affected. Some people, they, because of sleeping around, when they get to married, they no longer produce the kids. They no longer function as they're supposed to function because they were hitting all what they were playing around. So when they come now to marry, now a man is no longer active. You see. You get me? So we suffer different ways. The only thing is that we must be honest when we speak about this. We must not be biased when we speak about it. As much as it affects the woman, it only affects the woman because she will be having a child. You see, that's why I've said in our country why they don't change the law in the schools. Now they heard that there's a law passed that if your daughter is pregnant, you as a parent must go there and wait for your daughter. When she's sick, you must attend the daughter. I said, why the government doesn't say the boy? Because she said she's in school also. He must take care of the child that he has made, because that's his child also. Not only the woman's parent, they will suffer. You see, so it must not be one-sided. It must always be both-sided. That all of us at one stage will suffer from it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this one, Pastor Tinus. Marriage bed must be kept pure. The description in the Bible. Can you please elaborate on that?
I'm glad you asked that, because I was just sitting here thinking that we need to, when we talk about sexual sins, then we need to bring separation between when we talk about fornication and when we talk about adultery, because it's different things.
Yes.
Although it's the same, it's a sexual sin, but it's different things, because fornication is when somebody just lives an illicit lifestyle, but adultery is when it comes into the marriage relationship. And that is devastating, to keep the marriage bed pure. And that's the only time where Jesus actually said that you are kind of justified, to divorce somebody. Although you can overcome that, very difficult, but through forgiveness and and honesty, you can overcome adultery. But it's a very difficult thing, and I think it's for that reason that the Bible, or that Jesus said, that this is a reason why you can actually get divorced, because he understands the devastation, when that happens, when the bed is, the marriage bed is defiled. And because, there's just no more devastating thing, I think, for a husband and a wife, because I've had to counsel both sides. And I've seen the devastation of that, and many have tried, after that to fix things, but in most cases they failed, because it's just so devastating when that happens. So adultery is one thing, fornication is another thing, where you're not married and you live a socially sexual lifestyle. And I think, and that's where the soul tie thing comes in as well. People don't understand this, and I explained this to a young man down there in KwaZulu-Natal one year that we were on holiday. He was a waiter, and he started talking to me, and when he heard I'm a pastor, he popped this question to me about soul ties. So it ended up being a conversation for almost over an hour. But I explained to him that when you do sleep around with many partners, you create something that we call, a scattered soul, a broken soul. So because you have connected with so many souls, and that's the spiritual and the emotional side of it. But there's also a natural side to it. The natural side is that you can pick up disease.
Yes.
And people don't talk about that, because there are certain diseases, once you have it, you never get rid of it. You have it for the rest of your life. So that's the natural side. And I believe that's why God says that you shouldn't live that kind of lifestyle, because it can destroy you naturally. So apart from the spiritual side, the natural side is that you can pick up disease. The emotional part is that because of your scattered soul, you will find it very difficult to bond with one person.
That's true.
And that creates problems for your future.
Yeah. Yeah, so, these are very, and I like what you said when we started, and when you said, we avoid this topic, but we all do it anyway. And Pastor Andile on our previous episode, he said something when I mentioned the issue of pastors divorcing. And because I'm about to ask another question, and now I'm remembering what he said when he said, we must understand that pastors are also human. They make mistakes just like, because they are human. The word pastor, it's a function. It's the name of the function of your work, of the service. So, because I wanted to ask, we have seen even many ministers being involved in these sexual relationships that are not in line with the word of God. We have seen it has been trending all over the news. Some have even committed, rape. They have rape cases. So, what is the church saying about such?
Can I enter in that one a bit, as it was earlier? In some, to add on what Pastor says, in some they are cultic. Some they are doing for cult purposes. Remember, we have Balaam in the Bible that introduced this cultic Jezebelic secret bed of worship of the deities. So some they do it for cultic purposes. They are being employed by the princes of darkness to push the agenda of the devil. So that would be my take on it, because now, beside him being a pastor, being a born again, it prohibits you to do that. And being a normal citizen, a decent citizen, I believe in culture. In our culture, also it doesn't allow such things. You see, like a normal person. That's why most of the time they associate those people with dogs. You see, now he behaves like a dog. You see, because now it's not a human thing. It's inhuman for a person to behave like that. Yeah. So that's what I will also say.
Yeah, so that means that, I think what you're saying, that person is in the ministry for the wrong reason. Because it is so. Many people go into ministry for the wrong reasons. And, but also you can be trapped as well. Because Satan will also send into the church, women that will go for the pastor.
That's true. That's true.
Try to deceive him, so it's that as well. But it can also be just a weakness. It can be a weak moment, that you should avoid. Like, I have a rule that I never counsel women alone. Whenever I counsel and there's a woman, my wife sits in. To avoid situations, because you can have a weak moment. And that's where you are just a human comes in. Although as pastors we all expect us to be more mature Christians that are able to control the flesh, but you can never trust the flesh. So for that reason,
that's true. That's true.
So you need to avoid situations, because everybody can have a weak moment. But I agree. It can be occultic, where people come into ministry for the wrong reasons. And you need to quickly identify that and run when you see that.
And I think that's where I think it was on our last episode when he spoke about self-control. And you were quoting the Corinthians, the book of Corinthians, when you speak about self-control, that Paul said, according to him, if it was of him, people will not marry, but because of they don't have self-control, then they must get, a wife must have their own husband must have their own wives. So I think maybe you can just touch a little bit of self-control, and maybe that you had some.
I'll finish with this.
Yes.
And another thing also, in entering in the issue of self-control, I like what Pastor says. Know your appetite. I normally say I said, listen, every person has his own appetite. As much as you have a favorite dish, even with women, you have a favorite woman that will make you weak. You get me?
A type of
that is made for you. like for instance, we talk about a bit about Samson. It's not that there was no woman in Israel that would entice Samson, but because Delilah became appealing, she met the desire, the appetite of someone. You get me? So as men, we need not to lie. I was saying to someone, I said, my favorite meat, I like chicken. You see, but if I'm stoked, I'm greedy, I want to eat steak. I know that the steak doesn't satisfy me like chicken. If I eat chicken, I say no, I'm fine. You see, so same applies with sexuality. It's like that. You know the kind of people, the kind of person that you
need to avoid.
That makes you, even though you can forget. I was saying in the youth they laugh. I said when the sister come in the church, and you forgot to pray, or you forgot John 3 verse 16 when she appears, you must run away. You must know that you are in danger. The moment you forget the word when she appears, it means now this one, she's a fire. You see, you are a roast. You are a chicken, you are going to be roasted. So you must run away. So you must know, you must not make excuses. And you see, because me, when I grew up pastor, I make sure they laughed. When we grew up, we would go to conferences and so on. There were these women, youth, where we would visit. They were so beautiful, these ladies. I will make sure, after the pastor say amen, I run away, because I didn't want to associate with them, because I know that they will lead me somehow, because I'm becoming weak from before them. So I will run, and where we were being accommodated, then some members of the church from these ladies, they will sleep with me. I will eat and watch my dish and run and come to the room. When I hear the footstep, I start to pray. I start to pray high in tongues. They say, no, this man is praying every day. You see, because I'm avoiding. You see, so you need to come to a point whereby you be like Joseph.
Yeah.
Run away. Thank God I'm Joseph.
Yeah. I agree. You know, can I say?
Yes.
Because it's you know, most adultery happens between friends. People who become familiar with one another. You know, so that's why, you know, I'm friendly with everybody, but I'm not friends with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, because I know, you know, what happens with these friendships and things. You know, when I was still in the world and I was working corporately and my own business and things before ministry, I saw this. And I know that I avoid things like that. Because I know the danger of it, and that's what you say.
Yes,
you know your weakness. Know, and as he said, I like what he said. You know, you go for a certain type of person. You know, and when you find somebody attractive, that's when you shouldn't pull closer. That's when you should run.
Yes.
Because that can lead to devastation. You know, and that's where the self-discipline, self-control comes in. That you need to. And I believe it's both sides. It's not only for men.
Yes. I wanted to come in there. So it's both sides. Yeah. Pastor Andile, elaborate on that.
So when we speak about, we wanted to speak about, as we speak about fornication, I want to show this. Let's say you sleep with one partner. This would be the first partner that you sleep with. Then that's how you leave it. This is assault. This is the first relationship. Then you go again, you sleep with another one. So the more you sleep, the more holds when we speak about soul tie. So this is something like this. You see, already the plastic is finished. So it shows that the more you sleep, there's more partners that you carry. So it is going to be difficult, as Pastor Tinus was saying, that even when you are married, you won't be easily committed to one partner, because you already have this chain of people that you were sleeping with, that you were selling your soul in them, your emotions, because it's all emotions are involved in sexuality. You see, so all this, that's what we call soul tying. So now you find that you are being carried. When that guy goes to sleep with another person, he goes with you again. When you go and sleep with another person, you go with that person. So there's a infriction of spirit.
Your last words, Pastor.
Yes,
Tinus.
I just want to say again, you know, we need to understand why God is so tough on these things. You know, because, you know, He wants us to have life. Jesus came so that we can have life and have it in abundant life. And these things is not God sitting there waiting to punish us. But when we don't obey these things, we punish ourselves. And God wants us to have life and not punish ourselves and not live in the devastation of our own bad choices. So if we can just remember that, you know, if you can remember that when somebody pulls on you sexually or, you know, in whatever way, you know, just remember that this is going to work your devastation. This is going to judge you. And you're going to judge yourself. You know, so stay away from that. God doesn't want you to have that. He wants you to have life.
Thank you so much. And if people want to get hold of you, Pastor Tinus, maybe they want to get some counseling, where can they get hold of you?
Yes, they can go to our website, YouTube channel. We have also a YouTube channel called Next Gen Family Church or Next Gen Fam Church. So all the details are there. And so they can contact me or just, you know, look up Next Gen Fam Church. It's on the media all over. You know how it works these days.
Yes. Thank you so much, Pastor Andile. If people want to get hold of you,
for me, I would say I'm currently not in the media yet. I'm currently not in the media. I believe they let them come by you.
Okay.
And I'll avail myself.
Okay.
Let them come by you for safe purpose. I don't have church yet, so let them come by you.
Okay. All right. No, thank you so much, Pastor Andile. Thank you so much, Pastor
Yes,
Tinus.
okay.
We have come to the end of our show, and I really believe that, you know, our viewers have been inspired, you know, have been really changed, you know, from one level to another level. So thank you so much for availing yourself.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Desk Unpacking the Bible, where we prepare God's people for the works of service until the body of Christ may be built up. Let's meet next time on the same place, same time on Nolu Unlimited Multimedia. Thank you so much.